LC Global.
We doing it together because the world out there is in some deep mess. I mean, the world out there is in big time trouble. And there is no way that they're going to come out of this unless certain things take place. And you have to understand why this world is in trouble. If you understand it mentally, if you understand it, then you will know how to deal with it and how, I shouldn't say fix it, but how to come out on top of all of this thing. When you look at Gaza, when you look at, I'm not going down the list of everything, of Israel and all of the stuff, Republicans and Democrats, all the stuff that people are in. If we do not make some major changes, not before 2024, we don't make some major changes before this coming Tuesday, election-wise, we are on our way down a hill that we won't be able to recover from, state-wise, city-wise, county-wise, nation-wise, all of these different things. So I'm going to deal with some spiritual things, but understand that the spiritual aspect of things are connected to the physical. This is what we believe. This is what we preach. This is what we teach. This is why we're here on a Sunday morning. We don't come here to Sunday morning just to get comforted. And believe me, I wrestle with that. I said, people don't come to church to hear this or particular that or what's going on in the world. They come because they, life been tough and they want to feel comfort. But at the same time, I understand that until you get down to the core of that thing, and it's all it's going to do is scab over and you're going to start all over again. You got to do the surgery on this. So, PSA, perception. I was reading about, one thing I was reading about emeralds, and one of the things I like to do, and I always like to deal with, when I deal with wealth, when I deal with money, and I don't talk to y'all too much about it because, not that much. But, because preachers are always perceived, that's all they want to talk about is money. But I do understand the spirituality of money. Money is at different levels. Money is about physical, money is psychological, but money is also spiritual. I deal with the spiritual levels of money. I deal with the spiritual levels of health and divine healing. I deal with the spiritual levels of how we see all of these things. But money is one of those things people, it's all right for them to talk about, but don't talk about from the pulpit because you're going to collect an offering. And our people are nervous about it, but I'm going to say to you, don't get nervous about that because it is at the core of a lot of what is going on in our world. And until you understand that, it's going to bug you. There was a queen, I'm talking about a dumpster fire of a queen named Isabella. Queen Isabella. She was the queen of Spain long time ago in the 1500s, and actually in the late 1400s. And this guy came to her and said, listen, I can make you some money. I can bring you back some gold, some pearls, some jewels. And Queen Isabella was already broke. She had hawked the crown jewels and to the Portuguese and to some other countries, and so she was literally broke. So she said, where you gonna get this? He said, I'm gonna find a route to India and I'm gonna bring you back all of this money. And so she looked at Christopher Columbus and she said, all right, Chris, go ahead and find me some money. And so Chris set out on the Ninta and the Pinta and the Santa Maria. And we sing it all the time, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. And most people That's why you're seeing Columbus Day turn into Indigenous People Day, because Christopher Columbus was, I'm talking about, he was a perverted, I got words that I can't say in this pulpit. And I know it might hurt some of you, Christopher Columbus. I'm not talking about Italian people or racial. I'm talking about Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus winds up in a place that he didn't even make it. He didn't know where he was. He was lost. And he was in this little bitty island out in the Caribbean called Espanol. And so while he was there, he was looking for the gold. He told the people, he says, where's the gold? They said, we don't have no gold. But I see gold on your fingers. I see gold around your neck. They said, well, we got this gold from some people who live a long way from here, and we traded for this. And so Christopher Columbus took whatever little gold that they had and then had a brilliant idea. He says, y'all get on the boat. And if y'all don't get on the boat, I'm going to kill every single one of you. And so what happened was they put the men, the women, and the children, they put them on Christopher Columbus's boat, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and they took them back to Spain, and they took them back to Isabel. Isabel saw the people, and she said, oh my God, why would you bring people here? And Christopher Columbus said, well, this is all the gold we could find and the silver we could find, so I brought the people back. And she says, well, I don't, these are not my slaves, these are my subjects. So they're going to be my subjects, and I'm going to lead them to Jesus Christ. You have to understand, back then they had this huge thing about missionaries and leading people to Jesus Christ. They wanted people to get saved. Now, what you don't understand is the reason why they wanted them to get saved, which is a whole nother thing. But they wanted them to get saved, and so when they got back, she still didn't have any money. Somebody came up to her in her court and in her country, and they said, well, can I have one of your subjects? They said, what you gonna do with them? Well, they're gonna work my land. I'll buy them from you. And so, but they're gonna be, working for me for a while, 7 years, 10 years, whatever. She said, okay. Somebody else came up and told her the same thing, and she started realizing, she said, now wait a minute. I can make more money off of each one of these people than I can. Just make sure, she says to them, but just make sure that they're saved and treat them like saved people. And so the folk that bought them say, yeah, okay. That's what we'll do. And so after she got down low and sold just about a bunch of everybody, she called Chris back and said, Chris, can you go back and get some more? And this is where part of this whole thing about slave trade began. It began in Spain. It began in Portugal. But Christopher Columbus, after the fourth watch, they brought him on the fourth trip back in chains. And they put him in prison. And the reason they did is because Christopher Columbus had become so vicious in the raping of women and the raping of children and the raping of men that they brought him in chains. And he came back just whatever. And so that's how you began to see things. But then later on, Isabella said, I still don't have no money. I want you to go. And so she did something. What happens when you don't have money? What happens when you can't get what you want to get? What happens when you can't be the top or the head honcho in the whole thing of the European countries? How do you get back? How do you get to the top? You tell a lie. You tell the biggest lie you can. And especially when you don't have no money. So what she did, she said that there was a place called El Dorado. They made movies about this, looking for the lost city of gold. Some of you have heard about that. El Dorado, John Wayne, they made a movie, looking for the lost city of gold. And so she spreaded this lie that there was a lost city of gold in South America. And so guess what? She didn't have to pay Christopher Columbus. She didn't have to pay the explorers or give money from the crown of Spain to these people. What did she do? She just told the lie. And these explorers said, we'll go ourselves. So a bunch of explorers went out and look at this thing. It's the same concept when you say, hey, this is the most popping club in the city. This is a huge club. You need to come to this club. And the club gonna be at 9 o'clock. This place is it's the place to be. And so when you get to the club, you see this long line of people outside of the club, and you say, whoa, everybody wants to get into this club. Driving down the street, you turn around, let's go to this club, baby, come on. Everybody, look at them women, they looking good. Let's get into this club. And the people are lined up down the street, because you don't line up like they do restaurants. And you think the food is the best in town because they lined up. Do you know why they lined up? Because the doors are locked. They tried to do it with churches, didn't work. Folks said, well, I go somewhere else, and they promptly opened the door to church. But what they did was they locked the doors at 9 o'clock. You ready to get in the club, so they locked the doors, you can't get in. That's to build the crowd so that when the line gets so long, you open the door, everybody rushes in, and now you got a packed club. This was the concept that Isabel used to send all the explorers to look for that treasure and to look for that one thing. What they were looking for is the green parrot. That's the story they told. The green parrot of El Dorado. And the green parrot was this emerald the size of an ostrich egg. This emerald, if they could get that, everybody would be rich. And they were looking for it. They were killing everybody to get this green parrot. What they didn't know is El Dorado really was true. But El Dorado was not a city, it was a man. It was a king that they sprinkled gold dust on when he would get crowned, and then they would throw their jewels into the water. Now, why was all of this important? Because what they discovered about emeralds, which is different than any other gem, an emerald is not like a diamond. Diamond light comes into a diamond and flashes all over the place because of its chemical makeup. An emerald just flashes. It just, like it radiates. And then that's what makes an emerald different. Why is that? Because of its chemical makeup. The sunlight or whatever light hits it and it congeals inside of the emerald, then it releases itself. Now, they tried to get the secret of where the emeralds were from the indigenous people of Peru, and they couldn't get it from South America. Here's why. They wouldn't tell them. Why would they not tell them? Because it was connected to something. For over 10 to 22 decades, they wouldn't tell them nothing. They still have not found to this day the green parrot, because they won't tell them. Why? Because it's what they believed about the emerald. The explorers believed the emerald was money. Queen Isabella believed that Israel was money. What they did was they would bring out the green parrot, and the people would bring their emeralds and throw the emeralds into the sea. Why? Because they were giving the green parrot back the emeralds. They didn't care nothing about gold and silver, because gold and silver represented the sweat and tears of their gods. But their God was the green parrot, and their children were the smaller emeralds. So they saw themselves as bringing back the smaller emeralds to the green parrot to bring the children back to the parent of the smaller emeralds. So when what you have is tied to what you believe or your perception, it makes it much deeper, and you won't give it up. So if you want to stop people believing something, take away the belief system, the deep belief system that they have, and they will give it up just like that. Why would you tell me that kind of story, Dr. Ed? About a green parrot, this is the goddess, and they would give the little small emeralds back to the goddess because they believed, these were the children of the goddess. What's that got to do with us? We can't make the jump. See, it's hard perception-wise to make the jump. You heard the word goddess. We don't believe in goddesses. Who told you? European Christianity, Spain. You're coming across a big lie. What about the smaller emeralds? Those are the children of the goddess. Well, we don't understand the children of the goddess. Well, let me break it down to you from perception. Because here is what they took. Forget goddess. Genesis 1, around verse 26, 27, 28, it says, and God said, let us make man, or mankind, let us make man, not male man, but man. Let us make man in our image, in our likeness. And so God made man in his image and his likeness. Male and female created he them. Okay? You know that's there. If you don't, you look it up. I'm not going to put it on those screens unless they do, but I'm not putting it on those screens because you can look it up. And God said, let us. The first problem we have, which your eyes go across because you don't want to deal with the problem, well, there's two problems. First of all, and God. What is God? Everybody thinks differently. Then God says, let us. Who is God talking to in the beginning? Who is us? Is it Jesus? Is it the Holy Ghost? That's what some people say. Who is us? Somebody actually says that he was talking to wisdom. Psalm says that wisdom was a female from the beginning, or that was with God from the foundation of the world. Now, that's one story. But Genesis 2 comes along, and it says, and God formed man from the dust of the earth, and then breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And then God took man and placed him in the garden, and man named all the creatures of the garden and everything else. It says, but then God looked at man and said, but he has nobody with him. So God put the man to sleep and then pulled from man a rib, and from that rib made a woman, and then brought the woman back to the man, and he said, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. So which one is true? Did God create male and man in his image and likeness? Male and female created he them? Did he create the man and woman both at the same time, or did he create them separately? That messed you up, hasn't it? Yeah. So did he create them at the same time, or did he create them separately? Did the woman come from the man, or did he create both male and female in his likeness right then and there? So you don't want chapter 2. Women don't want chapter 2. But what it's saying is that, because I'm going to get to your next word, but what it is saying, this is perception. In other words, but there's something else we are seeing which we are not seeing. And that is the little emeralds are the daughters of the big emerald. So the little emeralds are emeralds, but the daughters or the sons of the big emerald. Is it possible that male and female, man and woman, man, male and female, are the little gods from the big God. And that when we come to God, we're not coming to God as less than God, but we're coming to God as that which came from God, which is a piece of God coming back to that which we are a piece of. If I had the time, I'd run the scriptures down like water to you. In his likeness, I would run it down to you that we are the sons of God, or the offspring of God. We are little diamonds of the big diamond. We are the little emeralds of the big emerald. We are the little rubies of the big ruby. But we are still rubies, emeralds, and diamonds. Okay? But if you are told that you are cursed, then you no longer see yourself as an emerald or ruby. You are cursed. And then someone teaches you that Jesus Christ came and says, cursed is every man that hangs on a tree. So Jesus Christ came to remove the curse. And so when you receive Jesus Christ, then the curse is removed and you are now one of the sons or daughters of God. Ever heard that? Yeah, but that's one of the teachings that they teach. Deep evangelical teaching teaches that we are cursed, but Jesus Christ came to remove the curse. And once we accept Jesus, then the curse has been removed. And we have now been acceptable to God. Now, you say, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that is that there's some group of people who were not cursed. And they've been the sons and daughters of God long before us, which means that we are less than because you've been sons and daughters. In other words, you consider yourselves the big brothers and sisters, and we the children of God. I'm not the child of God. I might do it, say it every now and then because it's nice drama. But I am not a child of God. I am a son of God. I am an offspring of God. Now, what do you call that? I call that something that I'm speaking to because of PSA. S stands for systemic. Here is what, in other words, the curse theory became systemic in our nature, in our faith. In other words, as John said, chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became, and verse 14 says the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. If the Word of God can become flesh and dwell among men like Jesus, then the word of the evil one can become a devil and dwell among us. So Satan is a manifestation of a word of evil. In other words, when Jesus goes upon the mountain and Satan comes in to be able to tempt Jesus, one of the names of Satan, there are three names of Satan in that passage right there. Satan, which means the accuser. There's Diablos, which is the devil. And then there's another one, another aspect of Diablos, which means the shamer, which teaches us that the devil comes to shame us or to say to us, we are not who we think we are. If you are the Son of God, turn these stones into bread. If you are the Son of God, jump off from this high mountain, high steeple, and the angels will bear thee up. If you really are an offspring of God, God is not going to let one of his children die by jumping off. Jesus said, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. I ain't jumping off. And he says, if you are the son of, listen, then you can have all this money. If you are the Son of God, I'll give you the kingdoms of the world. I'll give you all the wealth of the kingdoms of the world. Because we're under this illusion that we should have something if we're God's favorite or we are in favor with God. Why don't we have what somebody else has? Now, the neighbor down the street is a butt. The butt of all jokes, but he should be, whatever. But when you live down the street, for 40 years, for 40 years, he's driven the finest cars, lived in the finest house. And then we are told, well, don't worry about them because the wicked, they're going to soon be cut down. Well, he's lived in this house and driven this car for 40 years. How long is soon? The last 40 years, I've been sitting up here praying on my knees and asking God for something. Well, he got it all. How soon? When is he going to be cut down? Well, it teaches you that evidently cut down don't mean what you think cut down means. What we don't realize is the universe of God does not bless us or give to us based on our morality. I don't care how moral you are, that is not how money comes to you. And by the way, say money come. Put your hands like this. You got to say it like this. Money come. You say, why in the world would you say it? Because that was the right time to say it. That's money come. Health come. See, that's right. Money and health comes. We know. We've been talking about that. Say it again. Money come. Got to talk to money, ladies and gentlemen. I know all the rest of the things, even your healing comes from within you and things of that sort. But money is within. The spiritual aspect of money, of course, is within. But money is a cycle that's going on outside of you to all those other folk that are around you. And you got to change your attitude because you'll sit there and the devil will tell you, I'll give you all the kings of the world and everything. The devil will tell you, well, you don't deserve it because you ain't been living right. What do you mean I ain't been living right? They sure ain't living right. I done seen what they drive, what they wear. I done seen, listen, they wearing clothes that they don't even look like they got clothes on. They've been with every man, every woman, every man, every whatever. They've been with everything. And still, they got money in their pocket. And you getting up there talking, you got your long dress on, your long everything on, going up there talking, sooner or later, God, don't be happy now because sooner or later, just wait on God. Listen, give me 40 years of that good life. But God or someone come and take you down. After 40 years, he can have me. Well, they ain't as happy as you think they are inside of their house. They don't sleep at night. Oh, heck yeah, they sleep at night. You sleep at night because you got an alarm system that works. Say, money comes. See, that's been systemic among our people. We do not see ourselves as not cursed and never was cursed. Say, not cursed, never was cursed. We're not cursed because of our skin color. This is beautiful. My skin color is beautiful. It was a big lie. They started lining people up around that building. Talk about their curse. It was a big lie. See, that's why I don't believe that whole voting thing about, we really won. No, you didn't. You didn't win. It was the same voting system that you had 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 8 years ago. You won it then. Everything was all right back then. Why all of a sudden it don't work? Because you want to be in office. Oh, you just lining the folk up around the building. That's all you're doing. I know what you're doing. You're creating doubt. When you have, see, you're recreating doubt in the system. Systematic. You're creating doubt, which is why when you say systemic racism, you say it doesn't exist. There's just some bad apples. Well, there's a whole lot of bad apples out there. You're creating the lie. Why are you creating the lie? Not because you think the lie is going to win out, but it's going to create doubt. You don't sink because of fear. Jesus told Peter, you sink because of doubt. Well, I saw the winds and I was afraid, but he kept walking the water. Jesus didn't say to Peter, why did you fear? He said to him, why did you doubt? That's what causes the problem. P-S-A. A is, what did I say A was? Adaptation. I was looking at this movie, and I'm gonna be through right here. I was looking at this movie, and this movie said screen adaptation. In other words, it was a book before, but they had to adapt it to the screen. I said, well, what's the difference? They said, if we put it on a movie the same length as a book, you know, the book, you know, if you do an audible book, it could take 12 hours to read that book. So what they did, they adapted it to the screen so you wouldn't be sitting in no movie theater 4, 5, 6 hours. So they had to edit it or to adapt it to the theater or adapt it to the screen. Then I noticed another thing they did. One of the other artists said, what we did was a stage adaptation when they did The Wiz. They took The Wizard of Oz and made it The Wiz, but they adapted it to the theater so you wouldn't sit up in the theater 5, 6, 7 hours. They had to cut it, edit it, and make it palatable because, see, with a screen adaptation, you can just play the movie over and over again. But if you're in the theater, the artist cannot do the thing over and over again. They lose their voices. So you have to adapt it to where you might be able to have somebody.
Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery, and I want to encourage you about one thing. Don't you let your season pass you by. I've been talking on these little bitty clips about flowers and opening and blooming, but it takes pollination. In other words, it takes somebody going from one flower to another flower, and that's somebody, little bees and things of that sort. But just like bees will go from one flower to another flower and cause pollination and cause those flowers to reproduce, I think we touch each other's lives the same way. When we smile at each other, we reproduce joy and happiness. Our world needs so much. This is what ALC does. And when you give, you make a huge difference in our world. Take the time, go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Hit the donate button. You can give that way. A second way to give is to be able to use your text to give on your phone. And you can send it to the number 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. And put however much the amount you want to give right in that text message part of it and send it safe and secure. Not only that, but you can use your app. Don't forget, if you're in the app right now, you can give through it right now. And then also, you can use your P.O. box. Just slip a check. People still do checks nowadays. Or you can give through your debit cards or credit cards if you got an envelope. But if you're just mailing it, put a stamp on that envelope and you can send it to Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas 77215. Thank you so much for everything you do, for your contributions. I really appreciate you. Thank you, ALC, Abundant Life Center. And for all of you, ALC globally, thank you for being a part of our lives. I hope we can continue to be a part of your life. Love you. See ya. Religion tells you that God is up there and you're down here. Religion tells you that God is over there and you're over here. Religion? Heard it all? I thought so too. Someone once challenged me not to think of the creator of the universe as just some big guy in the sky. I see it as more than that. This power helps us raise our kids. It helps us to get our businesses together. Makes us who we are. Now imagine this power not as some big guy in the sky, but as a power working in you. Now, how amazing would your life be?
Looking for something more? Go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. The Abundant Life Center for dynamic living through spiritual growth.
I'm Ed Montgomery. Looking for more? Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery. Thank you for being a part of this page, and thank you for all the likes and comments that you give. I need more. Listen, we've gone on spaces and places and pages, and we've had our ups and downs. People taking us off and moved us aside and pushed here and everything. So we're trying to really build this page up better than it ever was. So I need your help. All I need you to do is like it. If you see a heart, press the heart. Whatever, the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up. Hit a comment. Tell me what you think. If it's nothing but 1 or 2 words, it makes a difference. And then share it with a friend. I know I'm asking you to do a lot, but it requires a lot because we're doing a great work. It's going to help you. It's going to help me. It's going to benefit all of us. So come on, let's get to work. Let's build this page. Come on.